Hey guys, welcome back to On We Talk. I'm your host, Matthew Winter. If you are listening on podcast platforms, please tell your friends. Please share it on your Instagram. You can spare. Did you know you could share Spotify podcasts on your Instagram story? There you go. Give it a 5 stars, all that stuff. If you're watching on YouTube, please give us a subscribe. Please share it with your friends so you can see our beautiful faces. And when I say our, I mean me. You can just ignore the right half of the screen. No, we've got.
I thought you were going to go the other way around there.
No, of course not. Friend of the show, Sam's Movies, content creator for the, let's just call it that, YouTuber, whatever you want to call it. You make videos. I just want to give a bit of context. We recorded half an hour just then, and then my camera just decided to turn. I don't understand because I turned it off and back on. It is using a, like a dummy battery. So it's like plugged into power. That's plugged in. It's constantly going. I don't understand why it would do that. But alas, it fucking did.
Pay me tokens for the unreleased episode.
It was a banger. We
it actually was.
Over some things, but we're not going to talk for half an hour about it again.
Surely we just copied word for word what we just said. Everything.
Of course, let's do it. Of course, let's do it. I've actually got it right here on my phone. So what's been going on in your world for the past year? Why haven't you been making content? You piece of shit. So you haven't made a video. You've been making videos, but it's like you haven't been.
I haven't. You have, but you haven't. No, in the past 3 months, or it's coming up to 4 months, I haven't made a video. No, I went to make my next video, and then I decided I was completely burnt out. Long story short, but it was a natural thing. As I said to Matthew in the previous recording, it was a natural progression from being just going from being fully into it to being completely burnt out. But I'm happy with where I'm at. I'm not kicking myself, even though I should be. In another month, I can start kicking myself. I haven't made a video by then, but I will. It's
I think
normal.
People think it's like easy to make videos.
Nah.
It's not easy to just make a video. Like, okay, let's give an example of what I do, for example. Short little mockumentary videos. It's like 2 scenes. It's just cut together, filmed, and put out. No, I write them. You write your videos. You write a script for your video. Like, it's not just making YouTube. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not simple. And that's one thing that we discussed in our previous recording. We are, I guess, filmmakers, really. Like, we're people who actually, we take pride. Obviously, we take pride in our videos, but we take pride in the process of making the video, not just what comes after that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Do you think? Oh, what I was going to say was, no, you're right. I don't know. Do you think you've sort of gone through the process of making videos in different styles and all that sort of thing, and you've sort of figured out the style that you want to do, or do you think you're still? Do you think you're still figuring that out? Figuring out like what sort of content you want to make?
No, I think I finally reached it. Finally figured out what I wanted to do. I think it says it. I've kind of written it in my channel description. It's just commentary meets chaos, which basically means I'm doing video essays, documentaries, all with scripts and commentary. And the chaos is me bringing a slide to a cliff and sliding off it. You go from the most refined, sort of well thought out documentary piece that's been researched to just me doing something completely ridiculous, which is the strangest mix ever. And it's obviously there's going to be people who don't watch the crazy videos and who watch the commentary ones, of course. But I don't know. It's definitely been a case of trial and error. I used to love making little reactions when I was younger, reaction videos to certain things, and I still look back at those and think, this is kind of funny. Some of the little hot takes, but it's not. I don't really like doing that anymore, sadly. But you never know. On another channel, I might get into that again. It's just with the Sam's Movies channel, there's been so much trial and error, so much going back and forth between what I think should be my main focus. And I've finally sort of hit that. And as you were saying before, what I was about to say was we're both filmmakers, we both love refining the art and making it pristine and perfectionists, really. That's
It's one thing I sort of want to like touch on is, I don't know, I think with when you make a YouTube channel and it's like, obviously like we're both people who like want to grow our channels, obviously, like we're sort of past the point of, hey, I just want to do this for fun. Like obviously you went to TAFE to study like screen and media. I didn't go to university like I was planning to, but it was like that's one thing I've been studying. Like this is what I want to do my entire life. Yeah. And I've known that. And it's like, okay, this is the thing I want to do. It's not just a hobby for me. I figured out that it's the career path that I want. And one thing I sort of realized at one point was like, fuck, okay, if I'm going to really take this seriously, I do need to step things up a little bit. Like, they say, oh, you can film a video on your iPhone. It'll be easy. And people will actually like it if the content's good. But like, I really feel that getting a 4K camera really made a difference. I think buying this Rodecaster Pro, which was like $800, recommended to me by the boys from Stepmates. Shout out to Stepmates. I think that like it really did like step things up. It's like, okay, you can look at this channel. Sure, it's only got the podcast channel and he has like 33 subscribers. The main channel,
13 more in the past week.
Oh yeah, it has grown, which is good with some good guests. But it's like, and then like the main YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ennui videos, which it is now. It's like you can look at this small channel and go, hey, there's actually something here. It's not just, hey, this is the guy trying to make it. I think that 10 years ago, somebody just making like shitty little content like worked. But I think these days it's like, okay, do you watch Gus Johnson or seen any of his videos? Does little comedy sketch videos? I
have watched a little bit of Gus's content. He didn't really inspire me as much as he did a lot of people, but I still love some of his stuff. I saw him on Cold Ones, and he's a good dude. He just seems like he's really interested in making people laugh, I guess, and the content he makes is his thing. You could just say, oh, it's zero effort, it's like 1:30. Well, it's his thing, and he's really successful at it, and people love it. I don't know, what's your experience with watching Gus's content?
I like his content, and it's that classic sort of Vine-y content, but it's short. Like obviously, like there's like a few, like there's a lot of videos that are like a few minutes long, etc., etc. He's a very interesting case because it's like, okay, he's got deals with like Comedy Central making content for their channel on YouTube, and he's got the podcast and he Twitch streams sometimes. But other than that, I don't know really what he does. I feel like he's one of those YouTubers like Jimmy Tatro. Now that's a name I haven't heard of in a long time. Jimmy Tatro was the star of, what was that show on Netflix? And it was like the investigative show. And it was, I can't think. It was a comedy, and it was just like a mini documentary, a fake one, about who drew dicks all over the cars in the parking lot, and they blamed Jimmy Tatro's character. He was just like a YouTuber, like making like sketch comedy videos, and then he's like actually like moved up into the mainstream. And I feel like there's a lot of people, especially like in comedy, they make YouTube videos so they can go get a job in LA.
Yep.
Which is fine. That's not my thing though. I think the internet's definitely I feel like the internet is the future. There's always going to be mainstream television and mainstream movies. But I think like the internet, there's something special about it to me personally, I think. But yeah, I do like Gus's content, but it's also like a lot of it is very, very, very low quality. Like no professional. It's literally just the camera filming him.
Yeah.
With like probably like the most default mic you can find.
Similar to Fairbairn Films. Fairbairn Films is something I've watched a lot more than Gus. I watch them every now and then, like properly watch a video, and their content's so simple, but it's like it's the corniest sort of thing that you can just you love to have a bit of a laugh at. There's a few of their videos that I've just died laughing to, and then there's a few of them where I've just been like, I think they're just trying a lot of stuff, and that's why it's I think so successful. They just keep on trying new things, and that's great. I don't know. I love those content creators as long as they I think as long as the content creator enjoys it, I mean, who is everyone else to just go, oh, this is non-effort, you know what I mean? But at the same time, of course, naturally you compare them to, someone who's editing something that takes, 30 hours to edit. Like a content creator I follow, Emp Lemon, he's
brilliant.
It's crazy how much work goes into his videos. Have you seen Emp Lemon before?
Yes, I have.
He's
brilliant.
It's ridiculous. The amount of hours he would spend editing per video, I can't imagine. And I've tried to sort of in my own way replicate that with a few of my videos I've done this year. The Are We Being Watched one was sort of an Emp Lemon style video, kind of, and the greatest movie trailer ever is sort of in his, style. But, when it took me hours to edit, especially the most recent ones, probably why I burnt out actually. They take hours to edit those types of videos. And the script, that's not even that's not even part of it. There's also the script and the research. It's just unbelievable. I don't know how he does it, to tell you the truth. It's crazy.
But I like that style content more than the simple content, I think. There's something nice with the simple content. But like when I think of, that's the thing, like I look at TikTok and I see like a lot of creators who are like making a living off their TikTok.
Yeah.
Like especially like a lot of comedy, like people making funny short little videos. And then it's like, I feel like that's one thing I've always wanted to do. I've talked about it in a recent episode on the Patreon, actually. I want to make micro content. I want to make like simple little content. It's just like film, and then you just cut it like real quick, and then it's done and it's out. And it's just simple and easy to produce, and like TikTok loves that, obviously. I don't know. I personally feel that YouTube needs that sort of premium feel these days in 2021.
Yeah. Like
I think like 10 years ago, you could probably... That's the thing. Gus Johnson, there's always the exception to the rule. There always is. But like there's some guy that I follow. He's some black guy. I can't remember his fucking name. But he's got like 3 million followers now. And all he does is, and he films them on his phone, he plays like one or two characters, and it's just him filming himself like with a hat on or something like that. And like a lot of it's like, when the school shooter comes in to record their rap and shit like that. And it's
I've
funny.
seen
like
this, that's funny.
But it's simple as fuck, and it works, and it's like comedy gold. But it's like I don't know. He's the way you frame it as well. Like that's framed as like I think that would work on TikTok as well. But at the same time, that would probably get lost in the TikTok, the world of TikTok. Absolutely. Yep. I think it really depends. And like not everybody who uses TikTok has YouTube and blah, blah, blah. And everybody's used YouTube before. Everybody's watched a YouTube video. That's the other thing. Like it is obviously the biggest platform. If you want to be putting out content, you better have some sort of YouTube presence.
Absolutely. I think it really depends on the person. My brother's, really into TikTok, and he's got hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok, and it's amazing. I don't know how he's done it, but it's so weird. I just never got into it. I mean, I have made TikToks. There was one I released recently, actually, but it's that you just film it and it's done. There's no real, I'm someone, as I said, I probably said this in the last recording that we did. We're not going to release, hopefully unlisted, but praying. It's not really my thing, making the shortened content, even though it's probably a good idea, business wise. It's not for me. I prefer the real challenge. Like this is going to be really hard to do, and that you're committed to it, and it's a lot of work. Having said that, you can go overboard. And I think someone like Emp Lemon, I can tell that guy's had a lot of burnouts, and he's made a lot of videos that he would have been exhausting to make. The Melee video, was like an hour and a half. He said it took him 40 hours to edit, which is nuts. And I'm surprised that would be minimum, I'm guessing. 40 hours minimum to edit something like that. And then the research would have taken heaps more hours. I think he said something like 70 hours all up, which is just ridiculous. But I just think there's making those little videos that take nothing out of you and they're entertaining for people to watch. And then there's making videos that are like 30 minutes long, a lot of research, and they take everything out of you and you stop uploading for 4 months. So I don't know how you find the balance. I don't know how you find something that's uploading regularly and it gets views, and it's a lot of effort. But I don't know. What do you reckon? It's hard. It's really hard to figure out how to do that.
It is hard, and I think that at the end of the day, one thing I've always thought is not everybody who's creative can be a business person at the same time.
Yep.
So then that takes out the whole equation of, hey, let's like grow other. Oh, but I think, I don't know. I think everybody's able to like make other income sources based around their YouTube channel, merch, sponsorships, etc., etc. Sometimes they have to have somebody else to deal with that for them, but nonetheless, I think, I don't know. I think that it's possible to make easy to produce content that does seem premium in a way. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like, for example, let's think about Marty's Mailbag, one of my old series, but like, let's think about it in today's context. If like, let's say I was a big YouTuber was doing that, and their thing was putting out comedy videos, and this was sort of like their improv comedy sort of thing, and they're cutting it together. I guess you could even say Cold Ones is pretty much the same thing. It's like they just get everything together, they do the video, and then it's cut together. Obviously, the editing, as we discussed in our previous recording, with the many cameras and et cetera, like there's a lot that goes into that. But it's a very like simple production.
Yeah.
To put it together. The post-production is another thing. The pre-production is probably like it's almost just as easy. And you can see in a lot of their videos, especially like the videos where it's like, oh, we pay people on Fiverr to animate these shit little animations. Like the pre-production is in the production. And it's like, it's crazy to think that they couldn't put out more regular videos, but I know why. It's because they've actually, one thing I saw on their Patreon recently, they've hired somebody to edit the behind the scenes because they were putting the full uncut versions on their Patreon. I'm like, holy fucking
with
shit.
Chad's
That's
privates.
Crazy. Oh, God. And that is something that I did not want to see.
No.
But I saw it. But that's the thing. It's like, the editing in that, like that is the big production thing. It's like, hey, cool, easy to film, but there's something in that makes it go, okay, this is premium content.
Yeah.
With the Marty's Mailbag sort of thing, it was like I'm working on these. There's always like jokes that I'm working on that I can include and stuff like that. Like, I don't know. Do you say a person who's making comedy videos where it's like sort of that? Oh, what's an example? Like, I wouldn't say friendly, but even like Friendly Geordies, it's like it's written jokes that he's writing. The videos are written. Do you know what I mean? Like that's the premium aspect of the video. I think as long as something has like a premium it's either going to be like a premium aspect, or it's so regular. There's like the uploads are so consistent that it's sort of like putting out all this content is the premium aspect of the channel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And people just love it. They consume it and absolutely adore it. I know people that are obsessed with Friendly Geordies. Like, my God, there's a few people I know that just, they watch every single video when it comes out, which I understand very well, because I remember when, H2H3 had a similar concept to the one you just said, where they're preparing, all the jokes, I guess, for their reaction videos, and then they're doing this really easily digestible style. And so they'll release, they used to release a video a day for like a month way back early in 2016. And I just watched all of them because I was like, this is, you just know what to expect every time. And I think that's the formula. That's a definite formula for success. When you know what to expect, it's it's definitely way harder. Like Marty's Mailbag, you know what to expect. It's you're at a table. You're getting beefy with McDonald's, or you're opening the katana pack, or whatever it was called. I forgot what it. Dressed as the weeaboo. People know what to expect. It's you playing a character, and it's going to be entertaining. And any content like that, I think the really easily digestible stuff is the formula for huge success. And that's something that I know a lot of people have struggled with, and that I've struggled with. I'm more of the you never know what you're going to get box of chocolates type YouTuber, and that's not always, that's not always successful. Only
The
certain
YouTube
people
algorithm
like
hates
that.
that.
Yeah, exactly.
But it doesn't mean it can't work either. Do you know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you're making. I think that like that's the thing. Like, you could be putting out different sort of content, but as long as it has like one sort of like central theme in a way,
Yeah.
like you're going to be able to, like, there's one relatable thing. There's one thing that every video has in common. You're gonna be fine. Absolutely, I think. One thing I wanted to touch on was like talking about like the cold ones, the friendly Geordies, especially like the Lewis Spears, who is like, it's crazy how like, obviously he's a comedian and like that's one thing that he sort of like prides himself on. But he's also like putting out these like regular videos, and they're all sort of like legitimizing like the scene that we actually have a scene here. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
for the longest time, I wouldn't have even seen Max Mofo as somebody who's like legitimizing. Like back in the day, like when he was doing like, especially like the prank call stuff back in the day, good content. Like it was like me as a little, 14-year-old kid. I love that stuff. I frothed it.
He's such a dickhead in those.
He is, absolutely. But it's like, that's not like legitimizing the scene whatsoever. Even like, some of my favorite YouTubers from when I was that like young, like, the Filthy Franks and stuff like that. It was like, to an extent, they were legitimizing the platform, but it was just so crazy.
Yeah.
They weren't at the same time. Like it's interesting.
It's so sad with those creators because you just know that they're going to get lost to changing times. I kind of, you kind of hope that it doesn't, but you know that it's going to happen. And I remember, I just have such great memories with Filthy Frank, especially of I'm at school, it's registration, and I log on to YouTube with my mate Cooper, and it says 6 minutes ago, Filthy Frank pimped my wheelchair. And we're just like, oh, like the excitement levels as soon as you see that is just like so palpable. And I think, we're obviously, it's sort of like the same thing with, you're not a 90s kid. You and I will probably be saying to kids, one day, just like, you weren't there when it said 6 minutes ago, pimp my wheelchair. You're just going back onto the old videos in the channel. But no, it was, and I think that's what's missing from YouTube, dude. Honestly, I think that edgy content, not just edgy content, but the content from those creators that you really just get pumped for, like for, going home on a Friday, for example, and, human cake, that doesn't come up anymore. You don't go home and log onto YouTube and then you're recommended is Human Cake, brand new, came out 10 hours ago, because that's, obviously been erased for one, but that just doesn't get made anymore. And I think that's the difference. I think that's the big difference between what YouTube was and what YouTube is. Sorry, not on the same track to what you were saying. I've kind of gone off on another tangent there, but
it's an interesting one. Like it's interesting to see that, like how the platform has changed. And like you still see, like I've seen like a lot of like really good like comedy creators put out videos like Ryan the Leader and Churdleys and that sort of crew who are
sorry, I don't want to take away from people who are making stuff these. I didn't want to shit on them.
No, not at all. But it's like it's so different. Like even with those guys, it's like even a lot of their videos aren't hits to me personally. But like everybody has, I don't know, there's to me, I feel like there is something missing for me personally, and I don't like to look at it like nostalgia. You know what I mean? Like I think there's, like, for example, with TV shows and stuff like that as well, it's like I remember all these shows that I watched when I was younger, and it's like all the older seasons are the better ones and all that sort of stuff. But there's like a lot of new great TV shows and films that have come out in the last 5 years. Like absolutely, like it is not dead. Cinema and television is not dead.
It's just on a constant up and down. And you're going to go through the downs, and then all of a sudden, oh my God, we're back to where we were. And it's like, what do people say that they feel nostalgic about something that, just happened, or something, or they watch something and it brings them back to that time where they were so happy watching something. So you're exactly right. It's never going to, there's always going to be ups and downs. It's going to come back. Great stuff. You just have to know where to look.
No, 100% agree. That's the thing. I think, I don't know. There's so much. That's the thing. One, I remember watching, there was a YouTuber, can't remember his name off the top of my head, but he was talking about how YouTube did a festival, like a show, like years and years ago. And it was talking about how like the biggest channels back then were the size of his channel now. And it was like, 300,000 subscribers, whatever it is.
It's crazy.
And he right now is like the 34,322nd biggest channel. Like it's all these channels that are bigger. And that's the thing. There's so much content. But all of them seem to rise to the top. Like I think that if I didn't sort of get connections through the podcast and all that sort of stuff, I think that I would absolutely be lost in the shuffle for sure. Like I wouldn't even have the amount of subscribers I have now. I wouldn't have the connections, and like I wouldn't have people I can bounce off and stuff like that. Like you really have to get involved in the community to some extent.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, there's always a chance that the Ennui channel videos will pop off, of course. But when you look at it logistically, obviously, when you get Joel Haver on the podcast and had a great chat with him, it's like, holy shit, this is huge. It's a huge step. But yeah, it's definitely having connections is the more likely outcome for a successful channel. But at the same time, everything's a step, whatever I'm trying to say. I don't know what to do with my hands.
No, yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Ron
But that's the
Burgundy.
thing.
Oh, no.
I'm actually going to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I watched a video by a YouTuber called Devon Nash, great guy, and he put out a video on what you can learn from Logan Paul about networking. As you know, there was the guy from TikTok a few weeks ago, and he was a TikToker. He put out a TikTok, and it's like, hey, I quit my job, and I asked Logan Paul for a job. And Logan's like, he's giving him the time of day, but he's like, oh, what are you good at? And he's like, nothing. I want to learn from you. I want you to be my mentor. And he's like, well, what's the difference between you and all these other guys? It's brave of you to quit your job, but like, you've got to put in the work. And like, a lot of the video was talking about like how great, how great advice that was. One thing that Logan touched on was like, he said, Logan said to the guy, hey, you've got friends. And he's like, no, I've got no friends. And he's like, well, that's bullshit. I know, like, of course you have friends. And because Logan said right after that, all I had was Jake in the beginning. They started putting out Vines. They built the following on Vine, and then, the rest is history. We know that. But like, just to get started, you don't realistically need to know people. I think that networking is very, very, very powerful. And if you do it the right way, you can take off very, very quickly. I also think it's probably a bit overrated. In some sense, it's overrated.
Yeah.
Like I remember when I started getting commentary channels to come on the podcast, and I was trying to interact with them, blah, blah, blah. Nothing came of it. Didn't even crack 150,000 subscribers, even with a few guests who had over 100, 200,000 subscribers. It doesn't necessarily work. It's not a given.
Yeah,
absolutely not.
Absolutely. I hate to detract from your point that you just made. Were Logan and Jake's parents big names in Hollywood? Were they execs or something? I don't know. I think Greg. Did they have ties already in the industry? So. I mean, that's not. I hate detracting, but I think that in some ways, you can just be like, you can have what I was going to say and just be like, oh, well, that's why, that's why he's so successful, because he had the ties. But at the same time, Logan, he's not a complete dim-witted fool. He knows the industry. He's not.
Yes, he does.
His real life persona is not always. It's probably, for all we know, dude. It's probably completely. It's not going to be completely different to his podcast and video persona. But he's an entrepreneur in a lot of ways. Even though his parents probably had ties in the industry, he's the sort of dude that could probably, really, really help out a lot of people and give good advice, like you just said. And I think a lot of people probably just are quick to write off YouTubers just because it's everyday bro or something. I think Jake's actually, Jake and Logan are actually very different. Jake's a bit of a tosser in comparison. But,
I think so too.
Yeah.
100%. They've both done smart things.
Yeah.
Like they both know what they're doing, what they're talking about. But I think Logan is the smarter one by far.
Absolutely. Yeah. Business wise and helping people out. But yeah.
Like one example actually is, so Logan Paul had the fight with Floyd Mayweather, and for the longest time, Floyd wouldn't even react to any of the videos or the call outs that Logan was making. And it wasn't until Jake stole his motherfucking hat off Floyd Mayweather's head that like he like got rolled up. Like you could see the press conference. It was like, I don't know, Floyd didn't really give a shit. But like that was the turning point, and that was the story. Like story is the most important thing, even if it's just like a boxing match at the end. Like that's the main event.
It's all a business. It's all a business,
exactly.
and it's not like people think that this shit just happens and that they just stumble into this sort of. No, it's all planned. It's all meticulously set up to get people's attention, and it's sort of any publicity is good publicity, but it's also if we get heads turning, then that when we've succeeded, that's pretty much the idea of their sort of business model, I guess, with Jake and Logan. Yeah,
and it is. I think one interesting watch or listen would be Harris Heller, who is the editor for like Logan Paul. He did an interview with Colin and Samir, and talking about like that whole that fight and like promoting that whole fight. Like they filmed that whole press conference, and Logan wanted to. It's like, hey, we're gonna film all today, and I want the video out by tomorrow. And like it was a very, very quick turnaround. And like when they're filming and he's there and he's like, we're gonna get nothing out of this. And as I said, it was the hat getting pulled off his head that actually like made a story out of it, an engaging one at that. No, like it's that's the thing. It's like you can document all you want, but like sometimes you have to like manipulate it a little bit. Not even manipulate it, but just like do something that goes, hey, like this is a good ending. Like this is the ending that we probably need as well. Because that's the thing. It's like it's all marketing. It did very well, the event. Absolutely. I didn't watch it. I don't really care. But I think like the whole celebrity boxing thing, it's like it's revitalized the boxing industry. It's not real boxing. It's like, I don't know, it's entertainment at the end of the day. I think people enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's all for entertainment, especially when you get someone a convert from making vines to a boxer. You know that it's an industry. It's an entertainment industry.
No, exactly.
But was there anything else you wanted to touch on, Matthew, that you might have touched on the previous? I think we're at the exact same length of the previous one so far.
We are actually. We are. I don't know. The only thing I really wanted to like really touch on that we sort of started discussing before it cut out, and I realized that we weren't recording. I don't know. Like, so what influenced you to sort of like actually like start making videos like on YouTube itself and like traditional media?
Well, I'm so confused. Was this the one we talked about at the end of the last one that cut out? Or? It
was like the. Yeah, it was. It was the. I think because you said you watched. I
was so confused. Sorry, I thought I already said it. Yeah, sorry.
You loved watching like what was it? It was Big Brother, the Friday night games.
Yeah. Do you remember that show?
I do. I loved it.
I think that show inspired me so much, and it still does because I grew up with it because they just had no budget, and there were so many people that worked so hard to make that shit entertaining. And you look at the bloody set, and it's a joke. Like it's set in a dirt car park, and it looks terrible from the outside. But somehow they made it look so great on TV with the artwork every week, or like the setup and just the ridiculous games. And that really just inspired me how they could make something so, with no budget and that looks so trash. If you were actually working there, it looks so trash, and then make it really entertaining for people. Fun fact about that show, it used to average 2 million viewers in the major cities every week. That was keeping
fucking shit.
Big Brother alive. Yeah, that show was huge, and it died with Big Brother, sadly. But it was meant to end. When it ended, it was definitely meant to end because it was trash by the end of it. But the first and the third seasons were very entertaining. I don't know. It's something you definitely have to grow up with, stuff like that. And, that inspired me to make my own version called the Friday Challenge Games.
Oh, God.
when I was 14. Thing is, I worked so hard on it, so it's hard for me to call it a massive regret. It's cringe for sure, but when I look back on it, it's like holy shit. I was like 14 when I made this thing, and it's massive cringe, and it looks terrible, but I was so passionate about it, and just to make one episode, I thought was surprising, because the shooting day was a disaster. There was all sorts of bad weather predicted. It was going to pour with rain, and it's outdoors, shot outdoors. And the rain came just after we finished recording, like this ridiculous amount of rain. So it's like, it's good memories for me. And, I eventually edited it properly, and it actually went to air, because that was my dream when I was a kid, for it to go to air. So it did go to air, the first episode, at like 1 a.m, and I still have the recording. But anyway, that was one of my biggest dreams as a young kid, to make a show that was sort of like that as a youngster. And I did end up doing that. So I don't know. They're sort of my inspirations from being a kid. But as you said, yeah, YouTube in the previous one, Shitcase Cinema was huge. He was the guy that I could just always have a laugh at. And yeah, definitely inspired me to make movie review related content.
Interesting. Like, I don't know if I've ever told anybody about this, but people would know. Back in the day when I was younger, I loved the animated content, like watching like Ennui and Psychic Pebbles and Stamper and a lot of this, like the Sleepy Cabin guys. I love that sort of stuff. And me and my mates always wanted to make animated content. One of my good friends, Braden, he started like learning how to animate in MS Paint originally.
So you got to start.
We started a YouTube channel called Brain Damage Buds, and it had a Z at the end. It was pretty cool. And we made like 2-3 videos. I helped like produce the videos, quote unquote.
Is it still up?
Oh, it's up. Please do not search it. No, it's not even like, it's like there's some
link in description, everyone.
Oh my god. And there's some solid stuff on there for a 13, 14-year-old kids. And it was like, that's what Ennui was going to be when it began. I was trying to make an animated series as soon as I finished school, and I realized the way I wanted to make it, I need a budget, and I need like government funding and shit like that. And it was going to be like tens of thousands of dollars.
Crazy.
And it's like, no,
Yeah.
I've got to like, no. But that's like what started. And it's funny. Braden, who animated it in the first place, like he's now like moved on and done animations for like huge gaming YouTubers,
really,
like millions of subscribers, and it's crazy how like from humble beginnings, and he's the successful one and I'm not.
Mate, you'll get there.
But that's the thing,
you'll
it's
get
like,
there.
We'll get there. But like we all have like humble beginnings like that. I used to love watching Smosh was like my
I never got into it. I don't know why I never got into it. I heard about it a lot.
I loved Teleporting Fat Guy. He was my favorite. Like he had like a power glove, and he stole it. Burt Reynolds stole it, and then he stole it back, and he'd be like teleporting fat. It's garbage content in retrospect. Like it's something 14-year-old me would love. But
dude, sorry, yeah.
Continue.
Sorry, I'll just quickly say, I used to love Retarded Policeman, Greg Benson, Mediocre Films, because that guy's such a great dude. And that series is just like iconic early YouTube. I mean, it's bloody brilliant. And the actor who played the Retarded Policeman, such a great dude. And I'm not sure if he was related. I think he was Greg's brother, actually. Greg Benson's. I think he was. And he was just so fantastic. And the series was so great. And I think that was one of those really heartwarming early YouTube series that just everyone got around. And I've gone back and watched them and just been like, oh my God, I remember this, the boobies episode. All of them are just so great. And there's those early YouTubers like Mediocre Films who are just such great people, and there's some great stories from him. But I don't know, I was really quickly going to say, sorry, hold that thought from before. So the other one was a guy who stuffed this shirt and pants with a... Did you see this guy, Ted Krusty?
I have.
Oh, yeah. No. Well, the next part of what I'm going to say is going to make you cringe so hard. I watched Ted Krusty's content where he went, Joe, oh no, when the thing fell off the building. And my mate and I, when I was 12 years old, we did parodies of it, where we stuffed a shirt with teddies, and we used this snake as like a spine for the pants and the shirt, and we throw it off the balcony of my house. I could still see where we threw it off right next to me, and we edited it disintegrate, and we'd be like, oh no, what have you done? And it's the same freaking concept, the exact same video, and I uploaded those to YouTube and used the freaking titles that Ted Krusty's like, person falls off building in horrific accident. And years later, I just go back to it and there's like 58 dislikes and 3 likes.
Oh, that's great. Well, look, okay, I put out cringy content. Like besides the brain damage bud stuff, there was a video we filmed at my mate's place. Like we were just fucking around. It's like we all love YouTube and that sort of stuff and just hanging out and filming with our phones and stuff like that. And there's a video, and what it was one of my mates threw his phone from standing on the lounge and it hit me right in the nuts. And then like I started like exaggeratedly crying, and we uploaded it as Asian kid gets hit in balls. I don't know why Asian kid. Like I don't know if that was like a clickbait thing, but it worked. One of my mates, he actually had a YouTube channel called, I can't remember what it's called now. It might have been like Nalzo or some shit like that. And what he uploaded was GIFs. A lot of the time, it was GIFs and then like a sound in the background. Like there was one of like a basketball player slam dunking and then his arm hit the ground, he broke it. And then just had the sound in the background. It got like 100,000 views.
You're kidding.
I'm not kidding.
Oh.
Like that shit. Oh, it's crazy. It's just crazy to me. Like, and how things have changed as well. It's like, I can't believe that got 100,000 views, like whatsoever. That's what I was going to say about like retarded policemen. Sometimes I'm scrolling through TikTok and I see like little clips of retarded policemen and like a lot of like those OG videos because it's like no one's going to be like watching them on YouTube now, like at all. But just like the memories of like old school YouTube. It's
so great.
It's crazy. I didn't think that we would be that similar in like what we watched back then, but obviously like not Smosh, but, but like that sort of stuff. But like I don't know. I think we've had the same like trajectory.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I mean, I still remember when I was 6 years old. I would have been 8 years old or 7, logging onto my mum's laptop when YouTube was like 2 years old or a year old, and it said top videos today. Hello, you bloody bugger in Australia, and it's like this stupid video with like some voiceover a TV show from an SBS TV show, and it got like 100,000 views, and it's had like 30,000 views since. And I found it like years later. I'm like, oh my god, I saw this when they used to have hot hits or whatever it was, top hits in Australia.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the hell? How long have I been? How many freaking hours have I spent on YouTube? You sort of had this moment where you realize, shit, I've watched a lot of YouTube. Yeah, it's crazy. There's a lot of good memories from when I was a kid watching YouTube.
Oh god, yeah. I think that we might actually end on that one. I think we both are those YouTube OGs. Just like that's what I used to do. I just like sit there and watch YouTube videos all fucking day long, and that's what I love to do. That's what me and my mates used to do. We would have sleepovers on the weekend, Friday night. Oh, mum, can I say Saturday night as well? We'd play GTA. We'd stay up watching scary movies, and then we'll just watch YouTube videos until like 5 a.m. Oh, memories.
It's crazy.
Memories. Oh,
I miss it.
Sam, is there anything else you want to say to our wonderful listeners / viewers?
Well, I want to tell the viewers how much of a legend the man on screen there is. Sam Davis. Oh no, I did your
piece
bit.
Of shit. This is my fucking podcast. My podcast.
I have taken over this podcast.
You have not.
Despite being a viewer of it for a long time, I've taken over. Anyway, I'd like to thank Matthew. I appreciate this opportunity to go on his podcast. I really do. And it's been a very lovely chat. And I hope the first recording gets an Ennui Talk, a Patreon release, because that was also good. But I reckon this one was just as good, 100%. I think
so too.
Probably better.
Hopefully I can salvage that and make something out of it.
Absolutely.
Fingers fucking crossed. Thanks to for listening, guys. I'm your host, Matthew Winter. Subscribe to the podcast channel. Subscribe to the main channel. All the links are in the description.
Turn the bell on.
Thank you, Sam, for coming on. It's really great to help out tiny YouTubers like you. You have more subscribers than me on your main channel.
But I'm tiny.
Yeah, but you're bigger than me. Like way bigger.
Oh no!
What's your main channel got now? How many subscribers? Like,
well, I think I checked it today. 6,297. It's nothing.
Yeah, but that's like 100 times more than mine.
Oh god! It's not a numbers game. It's a quality game.
It is, and my quality is way better than yours.
And I've got you on both.
You piece of shit. Thanks for coming on, Sam. Appreciate it.
Cheers, man. Thanks, guys, for watching.